can move on and talk about Tottenham Hotspur. Pete, now it sounds like actually Spurs are in the market for a new defender potentially going into the summer window.
Yeah, it is an area of the team that Ange Postecoglou would like to strengthen. Obviously, they brought in Dragusin in the January window. We haven't seen a lot of him, but he's, I think, one more for the future and providing cover and competition for Van de Ven and also for Romero as well. But I still think he is looking to bring in another centre-back for cover. Spurs are going to be back in European competition next season, whether that's Champions League or Europa League. So they're definitely going to have to add squad strength because they're going to have so many more games to play next season as well. And Ange Postecoglou is well aware of that. So yeah, centre-back is an area of the team they're looking at. One name that has been mentioned is Riccardo Calafiori from Bologna, young Italian player who's had a great season for Bologna, helping them to try and finish in the top four of Serie A to qualify for the Champions League. And what a story that would be for Bologna to reach Europe's elite competition. So obviously we know Tottenham are well versed in the Italian transfer market, got very good connections there as well. Paratici, who's still behind the scenes working at Tottenham and doing things, obviously is well connected in the Italian transfer market, and they've had success, Tottenham, from some of the signings they've made from Italy in recent seasons. Kulusevski, Bentancur both coming in on loan from Juventus before making their moves permanent. Obviously, they brought in Romero as well from Atalanta, who's been a very good signing as well. And then Destiny Udogie as well, who they signed from Udinese. I think he was a standout player for Tottenham this season in that left-back role before injury curtailed the season. So he ticks a lot of boxes, Calafiori for Tottenham. He can play centre-back. He can also play left-back as well at a push. And he's a young player with huge potential who will only improve. The only probably issue for Tottenham right now will be competition for his signature. Juventus are very keen to try and keep him in Italy, while German champions Bayer Leverkusen are also reported to be interested in him as well. And obviously they can offer Champions League football next season as well. So that could be a big incentive to the player as well. But yeah, he's a player that's on Tottenham's radar. And as I said, they'll be looking at other potential defensive reinforcements as well.
Paul, do you think that's the key area in the team that Ange needs to strengthen? Have the performances this season actually shown that the one issue is in defence? Where do you think as well they'll be looking going into the summer?
Yeah, and left back as well. And I think the fact that he can play left back is a major factor. You look at his stats as well. As soon as he's linked to Tottenham, you look him up. He's got a 90% success pass rate, which the way that Ange plays and the way that he wants to do him for a centre half, that's not bad. You know, because obviously with the longer pass and everything else, and with him being able to play left back. Fullback areas, it will look to strengthen there. With Udogie out for this season, I was concerned when they played Arsenal this weekend how they would play at left back, because Ben Davies playing that inverted fullback role against Saka. I mean, you saw the way Saka played first half. I actually tipped him for a goal, and he scored due to the susceptibility of Tottenham down that side. I think he would look to strengthen in fullback areas, but centre back's definitely one that they need to look at, because with Romero, his injury record isn't great, but also his suspension record isn't great. But saying that, I'm doing him an injustice. Normally back him every week for a yellow card, and he's only got 7 this year. So he's let me down this year a little bit on his discipline. But with Romero's suspensions, his injuries, and Van de Ven's hamstring, we know what an athlete Van de Ven is. We know how quick he is. It's twice already this season that his hamstring's gone. It's very unlikely that he's going to go through the whole season, without it going. So with Romero and Van de Ven as his first choice centre halves, we've not really seen much of Dragusin, who was brought in January. He can play there. But also, listen, if you lose Van de Ven and Romero at the same time, you're in trouble, as we've seen this season. We've seen Ben Davies play there. We've seen Emerson Royal play there. We saw him play at Manchester City with 4 fullbacks across the back 4. So centre-half is an area that he's going to have to strengthen. He's let Eric Dyer go out on loan to Bayern Munich, which has worked very well for him. That will probably more than likely turn into a permanent. He won't be coming back into the side. Joe Rodon's at Leeds. Regardless of whether he stays at Leeds or goes elsewhere, he won't be integrated back into the Tottenham side. So centre-half and full-back areas is definitely an area that he will be looking at.
Pete, talking of players that are injured, we know Timo Werner picked up an injury at the weekend. What does that mean for his future at the club? And actually, what are the chances that he will stay on a permanent move going into the summer?
Yeah, I think obviously it's a situation that Tottenham will evaluate at the end of the season. He started off really well following his arrival from RB Leipzig, but he's maybe stuttered a bit in recent weeks as well. He's not scored enough goals for me in that position that he's playing in. And again, he's very much hit and miss. It's pretty similar to what he was like when he was at Chelsea. Just wasn't consistent enough after they signed him. I do think Tottenham, there's an option there for them to make that deal permanent at a decent fee as well. But I just think Tottenham right now might be looking elsewhere if there's a better value in the transfer market. And again, I think Tottenham's transfer policy is to look for younger players under the age of 24 that they can bring in and enhance them and develop them to become real top players in that first team as well. So I think maybe Timo Werner might have seen his chance of a permanent deal go up in smoke in recent weeks as well. And if Spurs were to miss out on the Champions League, that'll obviously affect the transfer budget as well, because obviously they would have more money to spend if they were in the Champions League. And it looks like England are only going to have four. They're only going to have 4 places in the Champions League this season now after Borussia Dortmund winning that first leg against PSG, meaning that Germany are going to have 5 places in next season's Champions League as well. So for Tottenham, missing out on that would affect their transfer budget. And I just think Timo Werner has been hot and cold. He's looked good on some performances, maybe not so on others. And I think he's maybe just not done enough to warrant getting a permanent move to the club.
He's done okay, hasn't he? I mean, he's been all right. There was a lot of eyebrows raised, myself included, in January when he came in, thinking, you know, at Chelsea couldn't hit a barn door, could he? Didn't look like any type of player. And I think he got a lot of unfair criticism because of his stats and his goal scoring record. But you actually see his work rate and you see what he gives the team off the ball, without the ball. And I think to be fair to him, it was a big challenge to come to Tottenham. Obviously, with the Chelsea links, coming back into the Premier League, he felt like he had something to prove. But there's times, like Pete says there, in fits and starts, you think, yeah, he's all right. But I think that's what he is. He's all right in that Tottenham side. And if they want to progress, I think they'll be looking for better. Obviously, he's injured now, so he's not going to play again until the end of the season. But I think if you were nicking him on a free transfer or you were paying less than £10 million for him, then yeah, absolutely, get him in, bring him into the squad, because of the way that Ange plays with the high press and with his engine and his athleticism. He's a good fit. But actually, if you're going to go and make a statement signing, he's probably not the right one. He's not done enough. Like I say, he's done okay.
Pete, one other player to talk about was Giovani Lo Celso, of course. Is there any update, please, on a potential contract extension for him? And actually, do we see him playing any major role in Ange's plans, or is he likely to be a squad player? Effectively, what Paul is talking about with Timo Werner if he was to stay.
Yeah, obviously, it does seem that Spurs are looking to sit down with Lo Celso and talk to him about a new contract, which comes as a bit of a surprise to me. Just hasn't played enough first team minutes for Tottenham. Decent player on his day, Lo Celso, as he's proven. He scored a great goal against Aston Villa earlier in the season, scored against Manchester City away at the Etihad when he helped Tottenham get a draw. But for me, I don't think he's an Ange Postecoglou player. He's not going to press the ball too much. He wants the ball to feet, and obviously he's a good creative player. But obviously he's got 1 year left on his contract, where the Spurs are just trying to protect their assets and give him another year or two to secure his future. Maybe that's their thinking as well. But obviously he had 18 months away on loan at Villarreal. So obviously he didn't do enough when he initially arrived at Spurs to hold down a regular place in the side. I don't see that changing. I think he's only made something like 17 starts since joining the club in 2020 from Real Betis. So for me, Lo Celso will probably make this decision on his future. Does he want to stay at Tottenham and be a bit part player, be a squad player, or does he want to move elsewhere and potentially play regular first team football? Because there will be interest in Lo Celso. He's an Argentine international. He's had a good time in Spain before. Barcelona have been linked with him in the past as well. So although Tottenham are keen to sit down and discuss a new contract with Lo Celso, I think a lot of it will come down to the player and what he wants to do, because I don't see his situation at Tottenham changing too much. He's probably going to find himself a fringe player in Postecoglou's plans. And at this stage of his career, is he happy with that, or does he want to move on in search of a new challenge and be playing regular first team football at this stage of his career? So I don't think anything's cut and dried on him agreeing a new deal.
He's 28 now. I mean, his international aspirations, we've got the Euros this summer, but with the Copa America and the World Cup looming, at 28, he's not going to get many more opportunities to do that. I think he's got 50 caps for Argentina, or around the 50 mark. And he's certainly not going to continue if he's not playing at Tottenham. Listen, I liked him when he slotted into that deeper role. He showed another side to him, because he came initially as a left winger, didn't he? Like an attacking left winger. But under previous managers, he's played in that defensive, combative role in midfield. He's shown that he can do it. I don't think he's a bad player, but I think for him personally, at 28 years old, with international aspirations, he's not going to be playing week in and week out at Tottenham.
And Pete, what does that potentially mean on the links with Conor Gallagher? We know they haven't gone away and they're sort of still rumbling on. Is there a chance that Tottenham sign him this summer? What's your perspective on it going into the window?
There's a chance. There's no doubt about that. I do think Conor Gallagher will be sold by Chelsea this summer due to their financial situation. He does seem like he's going to be the sacrificial lamb. Despite his good form for Chelsea this season, they need to sell players to balance the books before they can even think about signing any new players in this upcoming summer transfer window themselves. And it looks like Gallagher being homegrown will represent pure profit for Chelsea on the balance sheets. And that's what it's going to come down to. Conor Gallagher's had a very good season for Chelsea. I don't think there's any question about that. Tottenham have been long-term admirers of him. But again, we've spoken previously on the pod about it. Maybe they're not the two easiest clubs to deal with because of the relationship between them as well. But for Conor Gallagher, I think if he is to be sold by Chelsea, I think ideally he would love to stay at Chelsea. He's professed his love for the club and how he wants to continue playing. And you see that on the pitch. He gives everything for that blue shirt when he's out there playing for Chelsea. But I think if Chelsea say, right, we've got to sell you, Spurs would be a good option for him. It would help him stay at a high level, and I think he could be the perfect type of player for Ange Postecoglou. I think with his high press, his energy, and everything else, Conor Gallagher does look like the ideal Postecoglou player. And I think right now, if he was to go inside Tottenham side, he would definitely improve the midfield. So I'm sure Tottenham will be obviously monitoring the situation at Stamford Bridge. There's been no update on contract offers to Conor Gallagher from Chelsea, and again, that sort of shows that maybe they're ready to listen to offers for him and let him leave through the Stamford Bridge exit door this summer.
You've just watched a segment from Football Insider's brand new podcast, The Inside Track, with me, Lewis Pearce, alongside the guests on the show. Thanks very much for tuning in. Please do give the video a like, comment your thoughts on the topic, and feel free to share on your social media pages. If you want to listen to the full podcast episode, click the link in the description below. Keep your eyes peeled for plenty more content and exclusives here on The Inside Track.